charge of things. Hey, okay, take it away, my friend.
Well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me and letting me come up with a topic to talk about. Um, I have to say, I mean, we've gotten to know each other very well over the years. But also the most recent individual who jumped into this meeting, Joyce, I've from hearing Joyce's name for many, many years before I even got sober to getting sober and getting the opportunity to spend time with her. Yeah, it's pretty incredible how this world brings so many great people together. Um, it was not an easy path for me to get to this, to be brought together with a lot of people. I struggled in my own addiction. I should say my name is Michael Fierman. I got sober August 10th, 2011. And I got sober with the help of my family holding boundaries. And the reason I want to talk about boundaries is because more and more I see individuals really struggling um, with being willing to put a boundary in place because of a negative connotation that's surrounded this word boundaries, right? And actually we do a Wednesday night family support call for Spear Mountain, and we were just talking about some of this about an hour ago. Um, and my hope is that people can view boundaries in a different light. If they've had, I guess, tough experiences through that, if they've looked at them in one way, like let's open our minds up because it did save my life, not only to help guide me to get into recovery, but then once I was in recovery, both individuals putting boundaries out there for me, but also me learning to set boundaries to take care of me. And that's the core of all boundaries. The goal is I need to take care of me, and this is what I need to do that. Um, and so I'm asking for your support in that and to respect that. Um, I think as a world, we hear boundaries when we talk about, in the substance use and mental health type field. When we say boundaries, we think intervention, getting them going somewhere. Um, and sometimes it gets lost on why we're setting them and the fact that it's to protect ourselves. Um, my wife just joined, so this will be even easier for me to talk about. Um, so before and during, out of recovery, in recovery. I'm gonna tell a quick story, and I don't know all the things, right? I just told y'all a story about me breaking a boundary that I put in place with my son. He ordered a dirt bike. I said, we're gonna return that because you didn't ask for that. And today I opened that dirt bike and we went and rode that dirt bike. So I too cannot uphold boundaries sometimes, and I struggle, and I need a support team. I say that to say I don't know everything on this topic, but I would like to open it as a conversation here in a minute to hear everybody's experience and where they've seen these pieces work in their lives, and why. So my story that I wanted to open with. I grew up in a family that was very well versed in addiction. My dad got sober when I was about 8 years old. Um, I was told everything about genetics and how my brain works and why I shouldn't use drugs and all these things and why I shouldn't do this or that. But I had to go on my own path. Um, And through that path, my family who worked in this field, who are in Al-Anon, who are in AA, really struggled when it came to boundaries. Um, for good reason. It's for, the same reason that many families struggle. If I put this in place, what if something happens to my husband, wife, son, daughter, aunt, uncle, whoever it may be? What if something happens? And and so that fear drove my family for a long time. I ended up going through 13 treatment centers. When I walked out of treatment center number 11, my family said, we have to no longer give you any financial support. If you want to talk on the phone, we'd ask it if it's when you're ready to ask for help to follow our plan, not your plan. Um, and we can't have you on our property. Now, to me, everything about that was trying to manipulate me to do something that I didn't want to do, which was go to treatment, get sober, live a boring life. Um, I couldn't go see fish shows. I couldn't go do all these fun, grand things that I had in my mind and in place. And I've fully made them aware that they were terrible parents, that they were just manipulating me to fall into this line because this is what they do for work and they need me to look good for their colleagues and everything to, I said every hurtful thing I possibly could. Now, keep in mind, my family had said these boundaries to me 100 times up to this point. And there had been times where they had asked me to leave their home or they didn't give me extra money. Um, but that only lasted for so long. So in my mind, I knew they would say these things. I would say what I was going to say. We'd have a big fight, probably wouldn't talk for a few weeks, maybe a month. And then I could come back and things would more or less be back to the same. I could get the money, I could get my car, I could do whatever I needed at that point. Well, when I left treatment this time and they said this, they actually meant it. And I pushed in every way because I thought, again, it was manipulation. And they held on to these boundaries for a solid year and a half, 2 years-ish. Um, and it took that long for me to realize, oh, wait, they're serious. And also they're terrified if I keep going on in this direction, I'm not going to be around anymore. So, one thing led to another. They did not enable me. They did not support me in my use. They were only willing to support me on a path to recovery. And that was other professionals' plans, not my plans. And they made that very clear. And, what it did was, I mean, it ultimately did get me to that point. It got me to a point where I needed treatment. Now, understanding and seeing where they were coming from, their ultimate goal was to raise my bottom up to me because they could no longer, they couldn't tell me to do something and me just go do it. They had to let me be an adult and make adult decisions, right? We always push our family members to be the adult, be the adult, be the adult. And then when we give them an adult decision, it's like, hold on, it's hard, right? Letting that person make their own decision, more so letting them see that they're an adult and they can make their own decisions. And there's going to be both negative and positive consequences to those actions. So over the course of about that year and a half, 2 years, I had to go through a lot, from, codependent relationships to sleeping on people's couches to getting stranded in various states. Everything bad that could have happened in my eyes happened. And the whole time I wanted to blame my family. Um, but again, I had to remind myself
Hey,
I was
Jessica. Nice
making
to listen.
a decision.
Sure, you can go down. Go ahead. If you don't, it's on.
There, I'm unmuted now. Um, so over that year and a half, 2 years, I went through a lot. But what ended up happening is I didn't have money to support my drug use. I sold substances to an undercover police officer and I got arrested. For the first time in my life, I couldn't place that blame on anybody else. And it was also the first time since I found substances that, and when I'm saying first time, I mean the moment that police surrounded me, is the first time I ever felt relief because I knew I did not have to use anything that next day or that day or whenever because I was going to be in jail. I did not have the opportunity. Mind you, I only spent a few days in jail, but it was that moment of relief that I had been looking for. And I truly believe, the boundaries that my family put into place, though, some might think they're harsh, the most common thing I hear from families is, I, I'm I'm doing this in a Southern accent because I'm from Alabama, and there's one family that sticks out in particular, but the dad would always say, "Man, I'm not going to throw my son to the curb," just like that. And I get that. And I get that my family had to make that decision. But it wasn't, it's that stigma of throwing him to the curb. They didn't throw me to the curb. They gave me an adult decision to make. I could either have support and follow somebody else's plan, or I could make another decision and I can try this another way. But they didn't think it would work. So these are your options. Um, Now fast forward, and I'm going to wrap all this up. I just wanted to tell that little story because I do believe they brought my bottom up to me. If they hadn't done that, if they had given me the $15, $20 every so often, if they had paid rent, if they had paid a car payment, I don't know what else would have happened. I can assume it would have just continued to get worse and worse and worse. Because at that point, I'd have $15 extra to buy a substance. I'd have 15 extra dollars to make some terrible decision with money. And so it would have just drawn on forever, in my opinion. So they helped me get to a point to see where my way doesn't work. And my way was addiction, right? So it was really addiction didn't work. The way my brain functions while in addiction doesn't work. Um, Now fast forward, I get out of jail, and I go to treatment. And I think everything is all good because now I'm sober, which means my family will support me. And not just financially, but emotionally. They will talk on the phone with me. They'll come to family programming. They'll do family sessions. Well, my perception of what my family wanted was they want me to be sober. And I didn't fully understand what being sober and being in recovery was. What they really wanted was for me to have integrity, for me to be open, for me to be honest, for me to be dependable, right? These pieces I never understood that when they're saying go to treatment. I always assumed this is just to stop using because once I stopped using, I would be a normal guy. Well, this is where the boundaries in recovery come into play. I had to learn the hard way that just being off substances wasn't enough to have relationships in my life. Unfortunately, I had to make these decisions through treatment that got me into trouble, that were not a decision that someone with integrity would make. And my family got scared again and they were fearful and they were hurt because they were so tired of seeing me act in this way. And so even though I'm sober, they had to implement some boundaries. I'll never forget, this is treatment center number 12. I'm getting kicked out of this treatment program and I had to call my dad, which, as someone who tested boundaries all the time, I figured out who would give in to boundaries the easiest. It was typically my mom. right? As the individual, we're very good at finding the weak link, whether it's mom, dad, brother, sister, aunt, uncle, whoever. We're going to find that weak link. Well, my dad was the one who, over this last couple years, was the most harsh with the boundaries. For some reason, when I was getting kicked out of treatment, I decided to call him. So I pick up the phone, I call him. I said, Dad, I'm getting out of treatment. Good news is I'm still sober. So I just need y'all to get me into another treatment center. I got to get this completed before court. So can you make some calls and, get me, essentially save me again? And I'll never forget hearing his voice, and all he said was, I love you and I can't do this anymore. And he hung up the phone. And I did not get that. I didn't get why he was doing this when I'm sober. I didn't get why he wouldn't talk to me like I messed up. So what? Um, and it took me a couple months I literally cried for about 2 months straight, to be honest. And I did get myself into another treatment center. I legitimately did want to be sober, but I wasn't seeing all the connecting points around what sobriety was and what recovery was, um, and what the benefits of these pieces were. And I truly believe I would not have gotten this and don't know if I'd be sober if I didn't learn it at that moment, that just being sober wasn't enough. Through the years, I've had to learn how to relook at boundaries because I had some negative experiences, right? And it wasn't because of my family, it was because of my choices. And I was, as an adult, was making the harder choice to try to do this on my own. So I placed a lot of blame on him, and it created a lot of negativity around that word boundary. It's kind of where I started with this. And I think we're already recording. The negativity surrounding boundaries is so detrimental. And I get, as family members, being the individual who pushed against the family members, we're going to make it feel like you're the worst people in the world. But what I've come to learn is a boundary is to keep myself safe, and to keep myself healthy. So we see these on a daily basis. You don't just set boundaries for someone that's not in recovery. Part of getting sober is learning to set boundaries. Part of a family getting into recovery is learning how to set their healthy boundaries. The most important person at that moment, at any moment, is you. For me, what do I need to do to take care of myself? And this was, these are it takes practice. It takes utilizing individuals around you, a team around you, to bounce these ideas off of, how to present boundaries, how to understand why I'm being affected in a certain way and what I can do differently and what I can set in place, again, to keep myself safe and to keep myself healthy. So now when I look back at my family and putting these boundaries of financially and all these things, what it came down to was mentally they were drained, spiritually they were drained, emotionally they were drained. And because they were absolutely terrified of what was on the other end of that line when they got a call at any time of the day from an unknown number. And so they had to learn how to, ultimately trust in something else, that whatever is supposed to happen is, that's what is going to happen, and they can't control that. Um, but also they got to make the decision, and everybody has to make this decision of, no matter if I put this boundary in place, no matter what happens to this other person, and I'm talking about active use right now, whatever happens to him, I have to be confident knowing that I did everything that I could. And so a family does have to look at both sides of that. I work with families all the time on the front end of treatment, that are trying to figure out how to get their loved one to go to treatment, but also, how do they keep them safe? How do they ensure they are doing what they should, what they are meant to do as parents? And so it's that question of what's the worst case scenario? You have to answer that for yourself. Most commonly, the worst case scenario that families tell me is I'm terrified that my loved one is going to die. And that family member has to make the decision for themselves. If that were to happen, are they going to have more guilt if it happened in their own home? Or are they going to have more guilt if they drew a boundary, didn't give them that money or that $20, or didn't give them that place to stay? And I know that's very plain and kind of a shocking way to think about it because it's a terrifying situation. But no matter the reason I use that scenario is because the boundary that's put in place, you have to believe in, and you have to believe that you're doing the right thing. And it's not just for that other person. This is for your own well-being. And that's what my family had to take into account. And they had to answer that question for themselves. And they had to stand by that decision so that every time I pushed, or if they got a scary phone call, like from jail, they still know that they're doing everything they could to support me in recovery. Now, as a person in recovery, I have to maintain that I'm always going to support myself in my recovery. My recovery has to come first. Um, and my recovery doesn't just have to be my substances, right? My recovery is everything around me, my behaviors, the way that I have relationships. I have to keep myself safe in all of those elements. So when I put in a boundary, I have to know why I'm doing this. Where is it going to help me and protect my recovery? And who can I talk to about that to understand if I'm going about this in the right way or if I'm speaking about these boundaries in the right way so that other individual doesn't get a negative connotation around this. They understand clearly and in a very concise manner why it is that I'm doing this. Um, Boundaries, both getting into recovery saved me. And then that phone call to my dad and them holding a boundary about he can't do it anymore saved my life. They didn't talk to me for about another, I can't remember the exact time. It was like 4 to 6 months. And I was still sober. I got into another treatment. But that's when I learned that boundaries weren't just to manipulate me. They didn't necessarily care. They cared about me, but they didn't care what I did. They just wanted me to be a good human, be somewhere safe, and to live a good life. But it took me a lot of fighting to finally realize what they were trying to show me and what all these treatment programs were trying to show me. Now I have the fortunate, side and opportunity to work with a lot of families that are in treatment. And, the boundaries come up all the time. I mean, it's almost every family call. Families are having to look at how they are supporting themselves and and what direction they are going to go. And a lot of the time that entails some boundaries to keep themselves safe. Um, so this process of boundaries is for everyone. And I know I've said the word safe and healthy a million times, but that's the core of it. Down to me and Molly, my wife, the, we have to set our own boundaries. We never have any negative intentions when we set these pieces. We set them to keep our relationships healthy. We set these so that we can communicate in the right way. We set boundaries with our kids. I have to set boundaries with my parents. And it's all to make sure that on a daily basis, I'm in the right place. So that was that's my 50,000 foot overview and perspective of boundaries, right? I think it takes much longer to understand what boundaries or when to put them in place or what that looks like. But I think the most important piece to me is what is the perspective of a boundary and what is the reason for you for a boundary. So, with that said, I'm sorry, I was reading the message. I'm open to hearing from you all, both in and out of recovery, whether it's you, family. As a reminder, this Zoom is being recorded, so if you don't want to say your name or if your name's on the screen, you can change your name. But I'm very interested to hear people's perspectives and to support you. Is there anyone in this room that needs support in any way? That's my goal. So I'd love to just open it up. You can unmute yourself, jump in, and go for it.
Thanks, Michael. Okay, everyone, before I go to gallery view, I'm just going to say our little disclaimer one more time. If you don't want to be seen, because this will be posted on our YouTube channel, turn off your camera. And if you don't want to be identified and you have your real or your full name, you can change that. Yeah, there you go, Michael. Good example. But Michael has just opened this up to anyone in or out of recovery, parent or professional who has questions about boundaries. And thank you, Michael. That was a really beautiful share. Thanks for sharing so much of your personal story. I didn't know all that stuff, so I feel closer. We've got a lot in common. We're right at about the same treatment center tool. Oh man, I should have made somebody else the host. I can't change it to gallery, so I guess everyone just ask. You can see Jason like hiding in shame, like Rachel. Oh, there, yeah, I did it. I did it. I did. Hi, Joyce.
Hi, Rachel. Hey, Michael, I want to say thank you. That was really beautiful. Yeah, like Rachel, I was very attached to Guy, and I thought he was just a great guy. And when Michael, I mean, Kate, your parents' little kid, like, are you kidding me? But yet, I think I fell in love with you, and so when I heard you were going to be here tonight, I just had knee replacement surgery. I'm old now and decrepit, and I'm in a lot of pain, but I had to be here and see you because I just love you and I miss you. And congratulations on your new position. And then maybe we can talk offline another time. But I just want to say boundaries. That was always my message with when I was a professional. Now that I'm so happily retired, I love being retired. I can't believe I'm saying that, but I really am. After 45 years, but. Boundaries was absolutely the key, and families would, have that attitude of I can't throw my kid to the curb, and yet for the families that could really get and grasp that message, they were off to the races, and they were the ones that would that call me now and say, hey, Joyce, it's been 20 years or 30 years or 10 years or whatever. Thanks. Because that's such a foreign concept to say to somebody, hey, you got to set a boundary, and my message was, we're here to support your wellness, not your illness, because it's too painful. So it's about, I get to protect my own heart from being broken over and over and over again. So if you're willing to do the work, I'm willing to support you. And here's the way. But if you've got a better idea and you're not willing to try another way, then God bless you. But I can't. I mean, I'd see families break up and get destroyed because of this idea that if I draw a boundary and I don't save my kid, then I'm a terrible parent, or I'm a terrible partner, or I'm a terrible friend. And it's just the opposite. And I was called many times old school because we have new philosophies and new ideas, and I took that to heart, and I started doing a lot of reading. And I won't mention some of the people that I read, but we were very sort of the new ideas. And I read those things and I go like, I mean, I've been around for a lot of years. I'm sorry, this doesn't make any sense to me. I don't see the application to this. And I go back to just exactly what you're talking about. It's the if I love you, why would I help you? Why would I co-create your demise? And so, yeah, I I'm glad that somehow or other I got that message, because my message is not very sophisticated. It's just real simple. Either you're helping wellness or you're helping illness. You can't do both. So anyway, I love what you had to say. And I saw your mom not too long ago, and it was just wonderful seeing her and your dad. And oh my gosh, they're wonderful people. So congratulations to you and your new endeavor, and give me a call.
I will. Thank you, Joyce. It's so good to see you.
And I might not stick it around too much longer because I'm really in pain. But
You're all, thank you for being here, and it's always great to see your face. I'll give you a call soon. We'll talk.
okay,
Do you want to rate really quick, Joyce? So I want to
what?
give, do you really quickly want to rate who you think is better at speaking about boundaries? Michael seems to think he surpassed his father. So-
Hear his father? Is that the question?
So he thinks he surpassed his father, and so we're taking a toll on this.
Oh, I don't really care. I don't think you got the message. I mean, either you have the message or you don't have the message. I don't know if you have it a little bit better, a little worse. Doesn't matter. I mean, it's just, I think it's really showing respect to another person, that I really think enough of you that I believe in you. I believe that you can do this, and therefore I cannot help you kill yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, because I believe in you. And it's such a hard concept for people to get that message. And it's just, every time that I had a family with like, they didn't get it, or they didn't get it from me. Hopefully they would get it down the road, but it would just, I'd feel so sad. And then of course the other flip side of that would be when a family would say, I thought you were nuts, but I'm glad we hung in there. I'm glad. And now our whole family, I mean, I'm talking about families where the parents were divorced and never spoke to each other. And I'm saying, yeah, I'm not talking to you individually. You're going to be together. And little by little, we got so cohesive that their kid couldn't do the old, playing one off the other anymore. And they got well, and the family gets together every week. Now, this is a number of years later. Every week, this family gets together and has dinner. And it's just, wonderful.
Yeah. When it clicks, it clicks. And I mean, that's why I do tell that piece about my family working in this and coaching families through this. It wasn't lost on them that they were able to coach a family and how to do this, but when it came to their own son, they weren't able to.
Yeah.
So it's not an easy task. For me, it comes down to, the hardest one that I always get is asking them to either go to, let's go to treatment or do something wellness related, or we can't have you live in our home. It's always that one that families don't want, or husbands, wives, whoever it may be, don't want to put in place. And I don't know why, but at some point it clicked with me that it's the idea of they aren't throwing me out of the house. They are giving me a very clear choice. It wasn't, they didn't pick me up and take me out of the house and say, you have no other option. They said, hey, we can't have you live here. We can support you in this. And so it's, if you can break these down into that perspective,
Mhm.
you're not throwing them out. You're not trying to harm them. You're
Mhm.
trying to save them, and you're giving them options.
Mhm.
But as all individuals in this world, we all get to make our own choices.
But the other part is, it's also putting a responsibility under you. If you want a better life, then you have to be willing to do your part in this. I'm going to do my part, but without you, I can't drag you, I can't push you, I can't prop you up. So if you want a life with me, and I hope you do, then you're going to be willing to trust and take that next step. Just take that next step. Anyway, blah 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 blah. I can go on forever about that. That's one of my favorite subjects. Yeah,
Love you, Joyce.
love you, Rachel.
Am I allowed to ask questions, Michael?
I feel like you are.
If I promise not to heckle you, I'm gonna try. I don't know if you noticed, but I was heckling you in the chat.
I did notice it at one point.
Um, So obviously we're so far, and I know that I know the answer to this question, but I want everybody on the call to be able to hear this and potentially ask questions. How does this change if we're dealing with dual diagnosis? Does this change if we're dealing with mental health primary? Does this advice then um how do boundaries change in those situations, or do they? Hi, Chelsea.
Man, that's a big question and a good question. I th My opinion is you're still needing to put boundaries in place. The way in which and maybe the choices that are offered will look different though.
Yeah.
Uh, let's say, primary mental health, maybe somebody is, in psychosis or, bipolar one with psychotic features. The main goal in that is safety, right? And so it's holding the boundary of, I mean, this person is probably not safe in our home, even though we're very loving, we're his or her or their family, right? And we have their best intentions. Most likely the safest place is going to be an evaluation of some sort and stabilization. And so it's what is that going to take to get that individual to that point? And also, I think the answer to that also goes a little further because different states have different um, laws that can either help you do that and implement these or hurt you in doing these things. So I think they're case by case, but the boundaries will always still be there because again, it's I'm going to support this person to get healthy.
Yeah. That's, I mean, I guess you guys all just heard who I stole this from, but even with my own children, who you have helped me with, I will support you in your wellness, but I love you, so I can't support you in your illness.
And it's the same. I mean, we see, I'll use me for an example. I mean, yes, I used substances, but I can get, what it could be gambling, it could be eating. There's so many different elements, and they all look very different, right? It's gonna, I think part of it's stigma, with certain addictions that
Absolutely.
make it easier or harder to hold a boundary. The core in this, and I meant to talk a little bit more about this, but I mean, it's exactly what Rachel does, what Joyce did forever, and Joyce was just talking about this. It's about creating this team that's cohesive, so that you're not in it alone. You can bounce these things off of professionals, right? And everyone can be on the same page to make the best decision. You never have to go through anything in life alone.
Yeah, I think that's a big piece, is just like that acknowledgement that whether it's mental health or addiction, and to be honest, I've never met someone with addiction who wasn't self-medicating something in the behavioral health world, right? Um, Known or unknown. Um, and yeah, it's, I have done this for, I don't know how many years, Joyce. When did you reject me as your mentee and then take me? I don't know, somewhere around 2011. And my kids were little then. And as our dear friend Mary Blackburn used to say, little kids, little problems, big kids, big problems. And, you know, when I got there, I was faced with all of the same stuff you're talking about with your parents. I really appreciated you sharing that, and your parents being in the industry, and it's like you feel like you're supposed to know, or like I could just save this money over here so I can put them in treatment over there because case management, man, that's what I do, or intervention, that's what I do. But you know, when it's your person, it's a whole different deal. And one of my teachers talks about everyone having a council, that everyone should have a council of 5 people, that like the way she defines it, like at any given point in time you can show up and sleep on their couch, right? But everyone should have a council, a wise council. And that's really what I love about Dr. Judith Landau's Arise model, is, she's bringing that concept of a council in, right? And Joyce, you were so skilled at that as well, as building a team, because addiction is bigger than me. Mental health is bigger than me. And if I take it on alone, I lose. And this is something, Chelsea joined a little bit late, but Chelsea is also on the Recovery Allies team, and she's been with us for 10 years. And this is something we talk about in our staff meetings all the time too. Like, oh, why didn't that go the way we wanted it to? Oh, silly me. I tried to take it on alone. Like, I had a big head. I thought I'd be doing this long enough. And all of a sudden I could outsmart addiction. And so I just think that's worth saying, that even professionals use these tools. That cohesive team piece is a big deal.
And so what you're saying, I mean, this is why it's both in and out of, or the before and after of recovery. Like, we tend to go to boundaries when something bad, negative is happening, right? Or something, we're scared about. But you don't have to be facing someone with active addiction or this detrimental situation, right? This is everyday life that you can implement these in.
Yeah.
And that's what's so key. Where I'm trying to shrink, this kind of sounds weird, where I'm trying to, like, when you say the word boundary, or when families hear the word boundary, when I heard the word boundary, it was this like big, like bass drum, like boom. Or, and I hope it can be shrunk down into this. I mean, they're so key, but in how we say them, how we talk about them, how we view them, it's all about that perspective, because the individuals around you are going to feel your perspective of a boundary when you put a boundary in place.
Good point. Right sizing it, right sizing the
Right
boundary.
sizing it.
You know what, Michael? This reminds me of something very embarrassing that happened to me. Oh, humbling. Let me use a different word. It was humbling that happened to me. I want to say this was in the last 6 to 9 months. And I can't remember if it was one of my kids or somebody else's kid. But someone goes, "That wasn't a boundary. You can't you can't set a boundary about my behavior." And I was like, "What?" And they were like, "Boundaries are for yourself." And I was like, "What?" And they were like, "Yeah, like you can tell me I'm not going to be around you if you do that, but you can't set a boundary with me that I don't do. Like, you can't say I can't smoke pot. You can tell me I can't smoke pot at your house. You can say I don't want to be around pot." And it like took me a minute, and I was like, I've had it. So I think for me, that was my moment. My personal moment, right? Is like, oh wait, boundaries are how I take care of myself. Boundaries are like how I don't take a work appointment after 8 p.m. anymore, because I need that for my self-care. Boundaries are, that when my family starts to behave in a toxic way, I can't make them stop. I've tried doing that for 41 years. They are who they are, but I can get in my car and I can leave. Right? That's a boundary. It's taking care of me. What do I need to lay my head down on the pillow at night when we're dealing with making really hard decisions around our children? And, what do I need to be healthy so that I can hold my center and be here for you, right? Like, be here for you no matter what you decide to do with you.
Yeah. One piece that we were just talking about on Spirit Mountain call right before this was that idea of, I mean, continuing with it's protecting yourself, but it's also ensuring that you can keep your gas tank full. Because if we're constantly just going, giving, trying to take control over, trying to shift things, when the time comes, I mean, you're going to be exhausted in every way possible. And so then when a time comes where you need to give something your all, you're already at empty. But if you can take care of yourself, if you can set boundaries, like Rachel, like you just said with work, I'm not going to take an appointment after X time, and during that time, I'm going to go fly fishing. And not pick up the phone. That's a boundary to help you refill your tank so that you can show up for the people and things that you need to show up for.
Yeah. Yeah, really important stuff. Really important stuff. We're almost out of time, and so I just wanted to, all us chatty Cathy's up here taking up all the space. I just wanted to see if anyone who didn't have a chance to ask a question or make a statement, if anyone had a burning desire, as we would call it in the rooms of the AAs.
Molly, any burning
I'm,
desire? Oh,
I'm
sorry.
Greg. I'll just make a statement. Very relatable. Thank you. And some very good takeaways. I had my own experience with my son, and thank God I had good sponsorship in both AA and Al-Anon and other programs, but that was very helpful. And,
Thank you, Greg.
yeah, thanks. Oh, hell, I'll keep going. My son is in recovery. So, yeah, I had to tell him, I don't care what you do, but you can't do what you're doing here. And, that was over 10 years ago. He's got 9 years in the program today.
That's amazing.
So it works. It's hard. It's hard to see him walk out. I didn't have any conditions. He didn't, he made it clear he wasn't going to meetings for me. I took him to meetings since he was a little baby. But it's hard. It's hard. And like I think you said, Michael, that it's something, your parents work with this, but it's something when it's your own kid, it's difficult. So way to go.
Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks for coming. It's good to see you, friend.
The word that keeps coming to my mind is that when families would call me, they were feeling powerless, and that horrible feeling of powerlessness. And to me, not enabling, that is the powerlessness. The empowerment is to be able to set those boundaries. That this is what I see, this is how I feel about it. No, by the way, this is what I will or will not do. That is an empowering statement. And I think that when families can go from this place of wringing their hands like, oh my God, if I do this, I'm going to lose my loved one, to say, I've tried everything, nothing has worked. So it's to me, it's an empowering place to be, is to teach somebody how to set a boundary, and it changes everything.
Can I piggyback on that?
Huh? Yeah.
Because you're right. And the thing is, though, is it's like, I'm taking my power. I took my power back when I told Nettie, you can't live here.
I know. I remember.
And here's the thing. What did it also do, Joyce? It empowered Nettie.
To get well.
Empowered Nettie to get well.
Get well. Exactly. It's exactly. Yeah.
So it's empowering. It's holistically empowering. Can I say that?
The biggest hurdle is getting another person to understand and embrace that truth. That's the hardest part, because it sounds like you're asking me to throw my kid to the curb. That's what they hear. And yeah. You don't understand. My kid is different. You don't understand. They've got this and they've got that. And yeah, it's universal. Yeah.
Hey, Chelsea, do you want to hit us with some boundary wisdom, like a little phrase of boundary wisdom before?
Sure. Hey, everybody. Michael, thank you so much for your vulnerability and your share and just everything that you talked about tonight. I got so much out of it, and I just feel really honored to be here in this space with you. So thank you. And I just, one thing that I kept thinking about was boundaries are not for them, it's for myself. Like, it's not about what they do, it's about what I'm doing. And I think that's kind of the shared sentiment that I'm hearing from everyone who's shared tonight. It's like, it's not actually about them doing what I want them to do. But just
The robot.
I think we lost to Chelsea.
The robots took Chelsea.
Cry, honey.
Whoa.
Have their own experience. See? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Weird
Can you hear me now?
experience.
My connection is going in and out, and I apologize. Okay, I turned my video off, so hopefully that will help. What did you last hear me say?
It was like, an alien language, basically.
The
But
whole time?
no, we heard your statement. The boundaries aren't about trying to control your behavior, or they're not about what you do. They're for me. They're for
Yep,
me.
yep. And giving someone the dignity to have their own experience.
Yeah.
And it's about what I'm doing,
Mhm.
right? And I
Yeah.
think that's the hardest part. The hardest part's not setting the boundary, it's holding to it,
Yeah.
in my experience. And I just was thinking a lot about, my dad, and my dad's been in addiction my whole life. And I got to a point where I said, this is not the relationship with my father that I want. And I can't have a relationship with you if you're not willing to change. And I didn't talk to him for a year. And the last time I saw him was on his deathbed. And I got to say goodbye to him, and I got to leave him with love. But I had to go that whole year without seeing him. And it was so hard. But I'm at peace with that because I had to do what was best for me. And I think I got to have that healing conversation because I set that boundary at the end. So I just wanted to bring that in too, of like, it is not easy and it's very painful. And I'm speaking as like a child with a parent who is addicted, and but it allowed me to take care of myself, and I don't regret it at all. So I really appreciate this conversation tonight, and it's so needed. And I'm sitting with a lot of learnings from you, Michael, and I just appreciate you, and I appreciate everyone for being here. And I hope I didn't go robot again, but
No, loud and clear the whole time.
You stayed human. You stayed human.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Michael, thank you. I see your littles poking in and being like, Dad, come be with us. And so
They want to hold our snake. We have a snake. They want to hold it right now.
that's way more important than us. So you should definitely go do that. And Molly, I love you. Thanks for sharing your husband with us. And I hope I get to see you both soon. I text Molly on the side and I asked, what does it mean about me that I'm kind of proud of him about the dirt bike? Like, I have this weird sense of like, good job, kid, like anyway, we can talk about that another time. Hey, thank you everyone who came. We're back. So we're gonna be doing these the first Monday of every month. Sorry, Wednesday. It's Wednesday today, the first Wednesday of every month, 7 p.m. and there will be different speakers every month. The next speaker I know of is 2 months away. Actually, Cam, who took your job at Ascend. No, Cameron is going to come talk to us, a topic unknown, but we'll about a month before we'll start announcing what the topic is. And if you want to speak, if you know someone you think should come speak, feel free to connect them with me. And I really appreciate everyone showing up. I was scared there's gonna be like me and Jason and Chelsea like holding it down, being like, good job, Michael. Michael's gonna be like, you guys are losers. So thank you. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming to support us. And also, if you know people, I mean, at the point I made at the beginning, our intention here is to acknowledge that the truth is all of our lives are touched by addiction and mental health. It is too prevalent at this point in time for you to be one of those special people who doesn't experience this in some way. And just having more open dialogue, more resources, more community around these issues. And it's free, like free resources, accessible resources, So that's our intention with this series. And I really appreciate everyone who came to support us tonight. So thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Rachel. Real quick,
Yeah.
in case people don't have their chat window open, I really like this quote that Jason sent.
Yeah. Let's do that.
Boundaries are the distance at which I can love you and me simultaneously. I've
Yeah.
never heard that one, and that is amazing. Yeah, thank y'all for having me. If anyone ever wants to reach out, chat, I'm always an open book, so feel free to get my number or anything from Rachel or Jason or Chelsea.
Awesome. Thank you, Michael. Give the fam hugs
Thank you,
and kisses from all of
Michael.
us, and thank them for sharing you. I'll send you the video once Patrick does it, his editing magic, and you can like post it on the socials on your fly fishing site. On your fly
Perfect.
fishing social site.
I didn't even talk. I said one fly fishing comment.
I was proud of you.
Yeah.
I hope you noticed the song choice behind Recovery Allies paid ad for this.
Wait, what was it?
Oh, you better go back and check that out, my
I'm
friend.
gonna have to go back and listen.
That was a nod to your story. So
Okay.
I forget which fish song it was, but it was a
Oh
fish
yeah,
song.
yeah, I did.
Okay,
See.
okay,
Yes,
okay.
yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
All
Thanks,
right.
everybody.
Thank
Bye,
y'all.
everyone. Thank you. It was wonderful.
Good seeing you, Joyce. I'll give you a call.